everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca if we have never met before, and if we have met before, welcome back. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about all the houseplant things and we chat, hang out, we just do a lot of fun stuff together. So I'm really excited that you're here with me today. So the reason that I was inspired to make this video is houseplants are on the rise. You know, they're becoming more and more trendy with every passing day, which is definitely a good thing. But with that comes the rise of cost of so many things. And we've already seen it with the plants themselves. You know, a lot of trendy plants are very, very expensive, and a lot of people buy them just because they're trendy, which I'm definitely guilty of a lot of the time, so I'm not pointing any fingers here. But I wanted to talk about something that we could maybe control the cost of, and that is the things that we use for our plants. I put a little question bubble on my Instagram asking you what sort of household products that you buy just regular day-to-day, or things that you might have already had at home that you utilize for your houseplants. And I have a really, really awesome list for you guys, and I'm super excited to share this with you, and this video can be a resource for all of us thrifty people out there. So let's just get into it. I have categorized everything in a few different sections so that this can be just a little bit easier to follow, and I will put timestamps in the description box below so that you can come back to this video later on if you remember something and you're like, wait a minute, where did I hear that? Oh yes, it was in Becca's video. And Leo is just on one today. You know how cats have catnip? Leo has eaten the dog version of catnip. I don't know what it is, but he found it somewhere and he has so much energy. He also got a haircut, so you might not recognize him completely. So in this list, I have added in things that I have personal experience with, as well as all of your guys' ideas off of Instagram. So if you do want to be a part of this stuff in the future, definitely make sure that you are following me on my Instagram page. My @name is DelaPlants, very easy to find me. So anyway, let's get into the list. The first category we're going to be talking about is pest and fungal control. So there are a lot of products already out there that are pre-made for pest control, and you know, honestly, they are really, really awesome products. But the thing is, why would you go out and buy the product if you already have all the ingredients at home and you might not know it yet, or you could make something at home that would suffice perfectly? So that eliminates the plastic bottle, and that eliminates you having to go out to the store, and that also eliminates you having to spend the money on the thing. So the first item on our list is hydrogen peroxide. And hydrogen peroxide has a lot of really great uses for just regular household things, but you can also use it on your plants. And the thing that I use hydrogen peroxide the most on is plants that have fungus gnats. And if I ever suspect that a plant has fungus gnats, I just water in with hydrogen peroxide, meaning that I dilute hydrogen peroxide in a cup of water and then just pour it over the soil like I would normally water. The hydrogen peroxide does not hurt the plant in any way. Another use for hydrogen peroxide is to cure root rot. Now, I've never done this before. There are a lot of other creators who have made videos about this specifically, so if you are interested in that. The next item on our pest control list is rubbing alcohol. And rubbing alcohol is really great for getting rid of things like mealybugs, spider mites. Well, that's the only two things that I've ever used it on, but there are a lot of other uses of it, especially when you mix it in with other products like dish soap, Castile soap, and things of that nature, and also water, of course, to kind of dilute it. So what I have done to combat spider mites is mix dish soap and rubbing alcohol and just kind of shake it up and then wash my leaves with that, and that worked really super well because as soon as that alcohol touches the leaf and also the dish soap, it is just like they're dead. So thankfully that worked out really, really well for me. So if you are interested in a home remedy for things like that, you don't want to bring in chemicals into your home. I know that there are some situations where the chemical is necessary, like on a larger growing operation, but in the home, if you can avoid it, I mean, why not? Somebody actually suggested Dr. Bronner's unscented dish soap for their plants, which I've never used before, but I will definitely have that link down below if you guys are interested in that. Something else that was recommended that you most certainly have in your spice cabinet was ground cinnamon, and I talked about this in my root rot video. I don't know when that was at this point, but I talked about it in that video. There is something called cinnamaldehyde in ground cinnamon, and that basically acts as a natural fungicide. So that's definitely a really great tip, and I actually keep ground cinnamon in my bathroom because sometimes I do experience mold in there if it's too wet for too long, just kind of in the air if it gets too humid in there. and there's not a ton of airflow in the bathroom, I will sometimes get mold, but as soon as I sprinkle that ground cinnamon on there, it goes away within a few days. So that's always really great. All right, so the next category we're going to be talking about is leaf shining and cleaning. I have actually never purchased a store-made leaf shine. I know that there is one out there and a lot of nurseries will use that, but there are natural things that you can do in your home to create that nursery shine. You know what I mean? Like that new car smell. You know how you get the new car scented things in your car? Well, this is the plants version of that. It makes it look shiny new. So my favorite way to do this is to mix lemon with water, probably at about a 50% ratio. You basically just want a liquid that is acidic, so whether that is a citrus juice or vinegar, something of that sort to break down all of the hard water spots on your plant. So I just rattled off a few things really quickly, but lemon juice, lime juice, vinegar, all of those things do really well to shine your leaves. And another thing that you can use to shine your leaves is milk. Diluted milk actually does shine leaves. I have tried it out on this plant right here, and it worked very, very nicely. But the thing is, your house is gonna smell like milk. And that was just too much for me. I could not handle the smell. So if you do have an area in your house that you don't hang out in that often, another thing that you can use to shine your leaves is baby wipes. So somebody said that they just sort of rinse out the baby wipe to take out like the excess amount of, I don't know what's in baby wipes, like soap or something like that, so that it's not leaving residue. But those are really, really great to use for wiping off your leaves. And then something else, this kind of goes along with pest control and cleaning your leaves, but Q-tips. So if you have Q-tips laying around the house, I know that I have like probably 500 because when I was in college, for some reason, I thought I needed 500 Q-tips, and I still have like a lot of Q-tips left over. So with that being said, I'm not going to just throw them away. I am going to try to use them, but it might take me like 10 years to use them all. But when I had mealybugs, I used them on the mealybugs. I would just dip the Q-tip in rubbing alcohol and then just kind of wipe it over where the mealybug was, and it killed them and they didn't come back. So that was really great. All right, so the next category is going to be repotting. A lot of people wrote in and said that they use spoons in their repotting process, which I think is really, really awesome. You can definitely just use a spoon from your kitchen to drop soil into those smaller crevices of your plants. There are some plants that don't like to get their leaves wet, so if you do get soil on the leaf, it's not as if you can just wipe it off, you know what I mean? So when that does happen, if you do happen to get soil on a leaf that doesn't like to get wet, you can use something like a makeup brush or a paintbrush to just sort of wipe it off really nicely. And you can also use a paintbrush or a makeup brush to use to kind of scrub your leaves when you are treating for something like spider mites. I forgot to say that earlier. Something that other people suggested was coffee filters at the bottom of your pots to just sort of like lock in all of the soil and make sure that it doesn't spill out the bottom when you water. This is something that I have never done. I have never put something at the bottom of my pots to prevent soil from coming out the bottom. I've personally never done this, and I can say that I have a lot of stray soil around my house, so if you don't want that, you should utilize a coffee filter or something like that to cover that hole and keep all of the soil in. Another kitchen utensil that people use is tongs when you repot cactus. So actually, this is something that I have done, and somebody in the checkout line at a local nursery actually told me this because I was buying something. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a super scary spiky cactus, and the person in front of me just was making conversation, love that garden center convo. Well, he was asking me how I was planning on repotting it, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm pretty scared, honestly. I don't think that my cactus gloves are going to be enough. And he's like, well, I'll just throw some tongs around it and that'll be fine. And I was just like, wow, that is an incredible idea. So if you are scared to repot cactus and you don't like the idea of grabbing onto a cactus with cactus gloves, because as much as we'd like to think so, cactus gloves are not always effective, especially when you have plants with like those big thorns. So definitely just be mindful of that. All right, so the next thing that we have in the repotting category is using old candles as cache pose. This is such a brilliant idea. So if you do have a smaller plant collection, like smaller size of plants, definitely consider using old candles for your cache pose, because a lot of candles they look really nice, you know what I mean? So I think that's a really great idea. All right, so the next category, second to last category, we're almost finished, is plant care / miscellaneous. So there's always a miscellaneous category, right? So the first thing that I have on here is using cooking skewers as little moss poles or stakes for your plants. So this is such a great idea because there are a lot of plants that could climb, but they are just too small to have something like a moss pole. It might look kind of funny. So if you did have something that needed to just like be able to stand up, like maybe you have a top heavy cactus, you can use, instead of a moss pole, you can use just a kitchen skewer. And really it just anchors the plant to the center of the pot so that it can stand up straight. This happens so much with cactus. You can actually buy bamboo kitchen skewers probably at your local dollar store for like a 20 pack. And I think that that's a really, really great way to anchor your smaller plants into the pot if they might be top heavy but also kind of small, or if you have cactus that are kind of falling over. Just know that that is super normal. A lot of cactus are kind of top heavy, and because their root system is like this big for a cactus like this big, it's bound to happen. And another way to kind of stake up your plant is by using a chopstick. So if you have chopsticks, maybe from takeout, you can definitely use them for that too. All right, and the last tool in this category is bobby pins. And I do remember that Plantarina made a video about this. It was like an IGTV video so long ago about how she makes her hanging basket plants look fuller. Grab a piece of the plant and like so she uses bobby pins to grab a piece of the plant and put it into the soil and then stake it down with a bobby pin. I've actually done this before and it works very, very well because as long as you have an aerial root touching the soil, it will grow down into the soil, and that's a really great way to thicken up your plants without chopping and propping. All right, you guys, and the last category that we have today is plant display. This is probably my favorite category, to be honest with you, because I think that it's so fun to think of new ways to display your houseplants. Something that I think is so cool, and I can't actually do in my space right now, but I have plans, I've got plans, is to use candle holders as a little plant stand. I think that this is such a cool idea. I love it so much. It just looks so chic. There is someone on Instagram that I follow that has just like a wall of smaller plants, and some of them are on candle stands, and it just looks so awesome. And so usually they are meant for like a standalone candle, not like a scented candle, but really a candle more for display. And so they have a little divot in them, and that is perfect for like a 3 to 4 inch pot. Another thing that I really like to do is use fruit baskets for holding on to some hanging plants. I actually have a fruit basket right here that is just kind of hung up, and it's holding some trailing Hoyas, and it just looks so cute. I love it so much. So if you ever see a fruit basket when you're thrifting, there's a lot of ways that you can upcycle them, or you could just use them like straight up, just like this, as a plant display. All right, so let's talk water propagation, because water propagation is a really fun way to propagate and also just display your plants in the process. And so something that someone suggested was using champagne glasses as a propagation holder, and I thought that was really, really cool. Usually what you want with a glass when you're water propagating is a narrow neck on the glass so that the plant doesn't fall into the water. And so a champagne glass being a flute sort of shape is perfect for that. And another thing that I really like to use to water propagate is just glass jars that I get from the grocery store. So I actually have 2 bottles that I'm using right now that used to have yellow curry in them from Trader Joe's, and they have been really, really wonderful propagation vessels for some plants of mine. So I just really love to reuse that kind of stuff. Whenever I get a glass bottle, I'm extra excited. So when I go to the grocery store, I kind of like seek out the glass bottles so that I can wash them out and use them for propagation. And the last thing we have here is using actual plates as saucers. So something that I learned about myself early on in my plant journey is that I always forget to buy saucers. So I have a lot of pots and not a lot of saucers, or I have a lot of saucers but not in the right size. That is always an issue for me. So what I have done in the past is use old plates as a saucer. I personally don't think that you need something that fully matches your pot to sit underneath the pot. It kind of looks a little bit more like of a collective, eclectic thing, and I personally really like that for my style. So you can definitely use plates that you have around your house, like maybe not a dinner plate because they could get stained. You could also thrift for plates. I know that thrift stores sell like actually like really nice dining sets sometimes for super cheap, like 50 cents a plate, which is insane. So that is all that I have for this video. I would love for you to comment down below if you have anything to add. If you want to be a part of these types of videos in the future, definitely make sure that you are following me on Instagram and you are subscribed to my channel. Of course, if you like this kind of content, you gotta come back, all right? So make sure that you subscribe so that you do not miss any future uploads. And I hope that this was helpful for you and we can all be thrifty together, because the houseplant trend is really awesome, but we can't let it break our bank, you know what I mean? So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!